In this video we're going to continue on with the Ethernaut series and solve the king challenge. So we have solved all of the above, even though these are without check marks. Solved everything except now we've come to the king challenge. So the contract represents a simple game, and whoever sends it amount of ether that is larger than the current price becomes the new king. And on such an event, the overthrown king, so the king that is replaced, gets paid the new price. He gets paid more than he sent, more ether than he sent, so he's making a bit of profit. And this is like a Ponzi scheme. Someone pays to get the prize, then the next person has to pay more than him to become the king. So he pays the overthrown king some profit. He doesn't get anything until a new person comes in and then he pays more than him, etc. etc. And this challenge is taken from a real world scenario. So this was a real contract on, and it still is, I think, deployed on the blockchain. Why wouldn't it be? Because the blockchain is forever. You can see the king of ether. Even there is a website here. I think this was the official website. You can read the post-modern investigation. So this was hacked, I think, with the denial of service attack by rejecting to accept ether. That's how we're going to attack this contract. I think this was the real contract, but I'm not sure because there's zero ether inside. But it was long time ago, so I'm not sure. So let's go over the code. We have a contract king, we have an address that is payable king, because we will send him the current king pays to this king, to the overthrown king. We have the price, this is how much currently, how much you have to pay more to become the king. Then we have the owner of the contract, don't know why. And in the constructor we set the owner, king, and the price. We have a helper function, which is just king. And finally we have a receive function. So whenever you send ether to this contract, will require that your amount of ether is greater than the price, or if you're the owner, then we'll transfer you the ether you sent. I mean, we'll transfer to the overthrown king, so he makes a bit of profit here. Then you become the king, and we have a new price. So where does this contract fail? So it fails here when we make the transfer. So when we make a transfer, the transfer method actually in Solidity, it's one of three ways to send ether. One of three calls we have. We have the send, the transfer, and the call method. The transfer and send methods, what they do is they send 23 gas to the external contract or to this guy, to the king. And this is done intentionally on purpose. It's only limited to 2300 gas, so we can avoid the re-entry attacks. But the problem is, whenever you send that amount of gas, if it has to use more gas to execute the code in the other contract, because whenever you're making a transfer, you're triggering the function in the other contract, which I have the solution here. So whenever you're transferring ether, like for example we will in this attacking contract, it will trigger the receive function. And if I have something here like updating a state variable which costs more than 2300 gas, that what will make is it will revert the transaction. But as you can see here, we're not really checking for any reversion, we're just continuing on with the code. And this is the contract inability to handle errors properly. This is where it fails. And it also fails in the assumption that this contract will be only used by externally owned accounts, but any contract which is on the blockchain, other contracts can interact with, especially when you do not have access control, like this contract doesn't have. So actually the attacker this time doesn't really have much benefit because he'll like send a lot of money, he'll become the king. I mean, the attacker king contract will interact with this contract, will send ether he'll send bigger message.value than the price. We'll send the message.value, his message.value, to the overthrown king. He will become the king. The price will be new price. And what after this transaction that the attacker has done, he has done a denial of service attack, because now whenever a new person comes in, wants to send ether to the contract, he'll try, and even if he does send a greater value, when we try to send the new person message.value to our king, which is our contract, the transaction will fail, because this requires more than 2300 gas to be run, and you can calculate this if you uncomment this code. You can do this in Remix. Or the other way to hack this contract is just not having a receive function at all. So when you make a transfer, it will fail again, and this will fail now for the basically forever, and you cannot fix this because king is hard coded. This is the king, and you cannot change it otherwise. So this is stuck here. This is the now service stuck. Now no one basically cannot use or send money to this contract because they will not become the king. So you can see it's very easy to do this, to solve this challenge. So I'm not going to do in on video. I think you understand the solution, so that's what is most important.